Housing market booms and slowdowns are on the agenda next week, and Sarah and Nina are here again to help us discuss that. Sarah, we Brits, we like nothing better than talking about house prices, but there's some important developments probably here next week. Yeah,
we'll see two releases that are probably pretty important in assessing if we are heading into a bubble, maybe we're already in a housing bubble. The Treasury will publish its first statistical release on
the UK Treasury.
Yeah, the UK Treasury, sorry, will publish its first statistical release on the Help to Buy scheme, the second round of it, which was launched as a way to help first-time buyers get into the property ladder. The housing prices, especially in London, has soared over the last year, and the Help to Buy scheme's been cited as maybe one of the factors for that.
Yep.
So if we'll see some trends emerge from this data, it could raise the calls for maybe the government to scale back on this
theme. And the BOE Governor Mark Carney and others from the Bank of England have been hinting that maybe the housing market is overheating and they need to rein in some measures really as well. But then on the flip side, we have had mortgage approvals actually drop for 2 months in a row, housing transactions actually cool off as well in March, posting a drop for the first time in almost a year. So some may be arguing there that signs of a cool down are in place.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed picture, isn't it? I think everyone who lives here in London unfortunately feels that there is a bubble. Maybe the rest of the country not so much. So pretty interesting. And as you say, Bank of England already starting to get concerned about this. But what could they really do you think, Sarah? I mean, what are people talking about?
Well, one of the things is like there could be some scaling back of these incentives to push up prices, like the Help to Buy schemes.
Right. Okay, fine. Over in the US, slightly different story. We're starting to talk about a slowdown in the housing market. Is that right?
We can't really blame the weather anymore, because that was a case that was sort of weighing on investors, on people's mind in the beginning of the year, towards the end of last year. The house prices are cooling off, mortgage rates are rising, house prices are rising, and also credit to availability of credit is also an issue there as well. So yeah, we can't really blame the weather anymore, and people are starting to worry about whether this is feeding into a bigger problem in the housing market over there.
Well, the last time the housing market in the US went bad, it didn't really end very well for the whole global economy, did it? Are people worried about that at all?
Well, I'm sure it's at the back of everyone's minds.
Yeah, really. But it doesn't seem like we're quite there yet. Housing prices are still rising, and we're still seeing just a slower growth in house sales as well. So
okay, fine. Bit of political news this weekend. Obviously, the EU elections, which we talked about last week, but there'll be results, and the Ukrainian presidential elections too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things on Sunday. Markets a bit jittery leading up to that, and the presidential election is sort of a key thing to get some more stabilization into the region right now. There's been some separatists in the country's east that said they'll prevent people from voting in some of the cities they already sort of control. The lead candidate, if he gets enough votes in this, so we'll won't have to go into a second round, this could give some more stability in the region.
Some calm to the whole situation.
Yeah, but if we have to go into a second round, it just sort of feeds into more of this, what's going to happen with Ukraine. And there's also the Russian part of it. The EU and the US threaten Russia to impose wider sanctions if they try in any way to prevent this election on Sunday.
Okay, let's do a bit of data, and the main news next week looks to be German unemployment figures. Is that right?
And the German economy continues to improve in terms of the labour market as well. So signs are for another tick down in the unemployment rate to about 6.6%, which we're talking about sort of lowest level in really 20 years.
And much lower than the European average,
much lower, which is around sort of 12% really. So the German outlook in terms of the labour market definitely improving.
Okay, quick switch to some corporate news and Kingfisher next week, British company.
Exactly, and we've been talking about the housing market, and also it's been a month of bank holidays, so I thought Kingfisher should be quite a nice one to touch on. The first quarter is expected to show some signs of improvement, especially given that last year the first quarter was quite weak. They operate a chain of home improvement retailers like B&Q, Screwfix, for instance. So yes, the whole bank holiday story as well feeds into that nicely. Improvement in France is expected, given that existing housing transactions seems to have bottomed out after the steep decline seen in 2012. Kingfisher continues to expand and invest in growth, as we've seen with the recent discussions with Mr. Bricolage, again in France. That's another home improvement retailer over there. And the housing market in Poland looks to be stabilising and improving, and UK trends are also encouraging. So loads of encouraging signals coming across from key markets.
Good stuff. Well, it's a bank holiday here on Monday, so maybe we'll all get down the home repair shops again. Thanks very much, guys.